And welcome back, everybody, to the Black Love Club. I'm your host, Nikki Talks. And of course, you know, I have with me in the room Richard Roots. He was ready. And Edgar Prime. What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? I am so excited that we are back. Happy Wednesday. And excuse me, we had little technical difficulties, getting in the beginning. Um, but we are here and we are live. So, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Thank you guys for tuning in to the Black Love Club and where Black Love still exists. And I'm really, really excited about today and today's topic. But I'm going to go ahead and jump into the news segment of the show today. And I got some things I wanted to talk about. I don't know if y'all heard about this, but I've been bringing it up to everybody all week. But on TikTok, they have been talking about cutie patooties versus baddies. Or not versus, but if you're a woman, you're either a cutie patootie or you're a baddie. So how it goes, they were talking about basically looks, like what you give off. That's how it started. But then they say that men entered the chat and they took it a little deeper and they talked about
Allegedly, because
Alleg-
we don't know if the men were the ones who changed it.
yeah.
Everybody got burner accounts.
Yes, definitely. Can I hear you, Prime? Oh, say that again, Prime. Sorry.
Everybody got burner accounts. Okay, there we go.
I was like, wait, you were still muted. I'm sorry. And that's when so they're talking about those things, right? And um I'm like, okay, I'm reading and learning about the baddie discussion.
Okay.
And that's when I'm like, okay, this I I didn't think it was necessarily bad how the men brought their spin on it or whatever, or allegedly the men brought their spin on it. But she said, I'm out of the loop because I never heard of that. Girl, it is on TikTok and it is crazy. Basically, men are saying the cutie patooties are the women that you would want to wake up to every day. The baddies are the women who are in your mind that you
One
think
guy,
about.
one guy said that.
Okay.
He, he's like, I'm gonna keep correcting this, but no, but seriously, I think that I think he had some truth into what he was saying and different things like that. But there was another guy who broke it down um more, and I liked how he broke it down because it was more about inward, not outward, and different things like that. And then my
You
husband
you
and
gonna play some of it for us?
I can't because
Oh,
yeah, it doesn't play on these, but
okay.
then there was a video of the lady. She made a response to the guy that was basically they felt as though he was saying that cutie patooties are marriage material, cuties are marriage material, and baddies are not.
Mm-hmm.
And she considers herself a baddie, so she was like, but
Of course she does.
they're playing both women because basically they're saying that they're gonna settle for you, but they really want us, so it's not fair to neither one of the women. And it was just really really it
I
was
mean, it sounds like it's
crazy.
not fair to one
But
woman.
then my husband, he brought a really good point. And if we're talking, and not, I'm not talking about when I say baddies, we're not talking about like women who dress loosely and different things like that, or because they were talking about
Are we talking
inwardness
about tens?
and dressing nice and stuff like that. He was saying, no, because a cutie patootie could be a 10 too. It's just the way a baddie carries herself with more confidence, if that makes sense.
Is that the word we're using?
She's more seductive. She
Yeah,
gives
so that's it. It wasn't like so when the men talked about it. It wasn't like I didn't hear one man say like the woman is just like dressed like a what's the word
a hooker.
a hooker. Let's
Streetwalker.
just say that
Yeah.
a streetwalker. That's good. No man said that. It
Okay.
was more so about the woman having like confidence. You know, having confidence. I don't want to say swag, but just having what's the word?
So they're saying
Vivacious.
baddies are confident women.
Like it's the way that she carries herself. Like she exudes
She
confidence
is
all the
like really
time.
clean and stylish and all of this stuff,
Mhm.
She's not as
but that
goofy.
reflects in her personality.
Mhm. So stuff like that. Yeah. But I want to shout out my husband because then he said something. He said, you know what? They making it seem as though that these men are selling with women. But he said I believe these women probably started out as baddies. It's just that they mature and they have more of a cutie anesthetic, about themselves now because they have kids and they have other things that they're worried about. But it doesn't mean that they can't look really amazing and be that woman again or whatever. So I thought that was really good that he brought that out.
I don't know. I think when I hear women bring up the conversation about settling, they make it out to be this big problem or concern of theirs. And as a man, I think in general we tend to settle regardless because it's just the differences in how we built. Like, you're most women are hypergamous in nature. They date up or across. So by virtue of that alone, you are going to typically be at least arguably better than the woman you get with. That's part of why she's attracted to you. So if you make it from that argument, men in general tend to settle. We just don't really think of it as big of a deal because that's not necessarily why we're in the game. There's no prize for getting the best woman in the world. We just want to find a woman that we're attracted to who works with us within our system, what we got going on. That's really what we're interested in. So, but I think that becomes an issue when you take it from the woman's side, where she is looking for the best man she can get. So the idea for settling for her is dangerous, is scary. For us,
Yeah.
not so much.
Yeah, I think the problem is like if you make the woman feel like you have settled, I think that's when it becomes a problem. But for the most part, I don't really see that. If the guy does do that, I mean, he's most likely a jerk. But for the most part, I see men, men really uphold that woman. You're
Right.
the beautifulest woman. You're this, you're this. I really don't think you should be telling your wife she's the most beautifulest woman in the earth. Telling her she's beautiful is always true.
But
if
you don't. You
really feel
shouldn't
like
lie
that.
to her.
Don't lie to her. Say,
I agree.
don't do that because that's pushing that that idea too that woman likes to be lied to. So I mean, Grantley, if you want your
Hey,
man
you
to
was on
tell
the
you,
podcast.
you said what?
You was on the podcast and you watched a grown man sit next to me and say, "Yeah, I used to lie to these women, tell them everything they wanted to hear."
Right.
And at the end of it, they was, see, I like the
Right.
way he said that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, that was a cutie versus baddie debate.
Man, that'll be a good
Which
show.
it was very interesting.
I got a quick question if you
Go
before
ahead.
you turn on.
Go ahead.
So could you like put on your like pretend toxic hat or maybe before you got to marriage, how would you as a man go about making a woman feel like you settled for her? What do you think that looks like?
Oh, easy. Well, I shouldn't say easy.
He was like, hold on, I don't want to get too toxic. Hold on.
Well, I think if I wanted to make a woman feel like I settled for her,
Mm-hmm.
I would make her feel. I would constantly remind her that I could have gotten other women. I could have gotten better.
But couldn't you always do that?
I don't think that's a good idea.
No. I mean, I'm just saying, like, what kind of woman would preclude you from being able to do that? Is my point. Is my question.
I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is when you ascend it.
Right.
You
But
know
I mean,
what I'm
in this,
saying?
wouldn't this be, couldn't you make an argument this is really close to just not telling her she's the most beautiful woman in the world?
It's not the same.
No, because one,
It's not the same.
because I don't think anybody wants to be told that they're the most. That's just very vain and just weird,
Fair.
right? You want to know that you feel beautiful or
Right.
whatever, that you look beautiful to them, but at the same time, but that's not going to knock your confidence down. But to tell somebody, yeah, I could have did better than you, like to tell them that,
Mm-hmm.
that's knocking confidence down, self-esteem. That woman feels worthless at this point.
Because most cases, I mean, the woman probably already feels like that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So because we all know a lot of women are really insecure.
Right.
No matter how many times you tell them they're beautiful, and that's probably why men started lying and saying you're the most beautiful girl in the world. No matter how many times you tell a woman she's beautiful, she's gonna always see something on her that makes her feel less beautiful.
Right.
So I mean, how could it even be beneficial to me to say I could have gotten better?
You see, you kind of frame that in a weird way. I wouldn't, and I'm not making an argument one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not saying you should go around telling your woman that you settled for her. But I do think it sounds like the idea is to kind of control the ego of the woman you with to a certain degree. And so it might be worthwhile to express that you could have gotten other women.
You know what, Prom? We're gonna go on to the next one because it's too early in the show for people to be
Wait, he get
like
past his news before you bring it out.
pitchforks. Oh man, Prime.
Hey, your husband brought that up.
No,
Bring it to
no.
him. Bring it to him.
That was your
I was just breaking down
question.
what he was saying.
Um, but you guys, so in other news, I wanted to talk about y'all remember Love Island. I have never seen it, but Love Island, there was a girl on there named
How
Olandria.
you gonna say you remember a show you ain't never seen?
Well, everybody was talking about it. Like literally, it was all up and
I'm
down the
sorry, continue.
timeline, and I was like, I don't even know what this is. But in Love Island, Olandria, she's with this guy. So she's with this guy. Um,
Isn't that a guy?
it is a guy, but
Okay.
I forgot his name. We found his name. I gotta find my article. Oh, I lost it. But basically, people was asking them about moving in. They were like, are you gonna move in with him? Where you're taking your relationship next or whatever? Because this is a dating show. This is where people go and
Is this where they was having like those twerk competitions?
I don't know if they were doing that because I didn't even see it.
Oh.
I didn't even see it. So I don't know. But yeah, look, she said she never seen it either. But yeah, I never saw
Okay,
it.
I'm sorry. Get to your story
But
before I keep interrupting.
She was just saying that she's when they asked about moving in with him, she was like, I'm very traditional when it comes to that.
His name is Nick.
Nick. That's what I wanted to say. I wanted to
Thank you,
say
Serenity.
Nick. Okay, I wanted to say Nick, but I was like, I don't know, maybe that's just like the average white guy name that I'm thinking about. Sorry. But
That is not an average white guy.
yeah, it is Nick Lacey. There was Nick with the Backstreet Boys, I believe, or NSYNC. I don't know. There was Nicks around in the 90s. There were a lot of Nicks
Okay,
in the
okay,
world.
all right.
Okay, you got it. You win.
But she was saying that she was very traditional when it came to moving in with a guy without a ring, right?
Mhm.
Which I find was very weird because judging from the clips that I seen on Love Island, y'all was very spicy. So I don't understand why we gotta be so traditional now without a ring if we were all spicy before. I don't see like I might as well move in, right? But I mean, like, I feel like take it slow because I feel like our bodies are just much more sacred than moving in with somebody. So if you already gave him your body, then I don't see what's the problem. If it's like a commitment thing, then I feel like it's a greater commitment not to give my body away. Until like this man places on a table that he wants to be with me or something like that, right? Because it's like just moving in. I don't know. Prime, what you guys say about that?
You know what, Nikki? I agree with you. I don't think a lot. It seems
What?
like a lot of people don't share that sentiment. That moving in is a harder commitment to make than giving up your body, and so I completely agree with you. It is a little bit crazy, as wild as that show gets. That's where you draw the line. Although,
Exactly.
with that said, I do think this also kind of goes back to your original point why you should be, if you don't feel comfortable enough, staying with them, you probably shouldn't be giving your body up to them. Is because let's say you are going quick into this interaction, moving in with someone is an entirely different thing. You don't know their habits, you don't know their temperaments. There's going to be expectations that's going to come in. There's a lot of resentment that comes from just other people occupying your space. And so until you've done that,
But he
been in that
occupied her
situation,
space. He been inside her
well, he
space.
got to know her in the biblical sense.
So I don't understand why we can't make it work if we're moving together. That's all I'm saying. Serenity said somebody called Love Island a televised freak off. Exactly.
Televised freak off.
I ain't never heard of Love Island.
Yeah.
I've heard about it,
Yeah. I've heard about it, and I just was like,
but no,
this
that's
is
wild. I
ridiculous.
agree with you. I think it's kind of crazy, but I also, I'd also make the argument. I don't know that it's the best thing, to I would say, like, I don't know if I want how I want to put that, but like permanently reside in the same place with your woman. I don't know if that's the best way to go about doing things.
Yeah, I feel like you definitely, if you're not, if it hasn't been that long, you definitely should wait some time. But also, that's why I feel like it seemed as though you're unsure about something. So it's like you already slept with him. Like literally, you was on like the clips. Like I seen, this was very spicy. This was spicy, and I was like, whoa. This is crazy. This is a TV. Like your mom is looking at this TV show. Like, have you no respect for yourself, for your
You
mom?
don't see the
Your mom,
grandmas.
your mom, your grandma, your mama friends, everybody see you on there looking how you looking. That's not a good look. That's not a good look. That's not a good look, especially for the females. But even the men, because if I was a woman and I knew he came from Love Island, would I want to be with you? And I seen you be with all these women, it just shows that you allow anything.
See, I think you're being a little disingenuous. I get it. I get it, but I think you're being a little disingenuous. I just don't think women en masse view men that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't think she was being disingenuous because she spoke. She said she literally said I,
Mm-hmm.
but I do agree with you saying too. Women in mass they really don't.
Maybe the argument's
A
disingenuous.
lot
I
of
think that's
women,
fair.
yeah, a lot of women don't. They don't see it the same way.
Yep, that's true. Now, y'all, I want to look. I was debating should I bring this up on the show, but I said, you know what, we're gonna bring it up anyway. So Trump came in and he had he was talking about one. I remember I said I wanted to go to Washington because they had like a lot of museums, right? So the Smithsonian has a museum that where they talk about slavery and different things like that. This is what Trump said. The museums throughout Washington, but all over the country, are essentially the last remaining segment of woke. The Smithsonian is out of control, where everything is discussed of how horrible our country is and how bad slavery was, and how unaccomplished the downtrodden have been. Now he's going on to say all these things. Um, and then he says there's nothing about success, nothing about the brightness, nothing about the future. We are not going to allow this to happen, and have instructed my attorneys to go through the museums and start the exact same process that has been done with colleges and universities where tremendous progress has been made. So basically removing all this stuff. He said this country cannot be woke because woke is broke, and we have the hottest country in the world. The hottest country in the world. Wow. And we who says that? I mean, like, who words it like the hottest? Is he Paris Hilton at the point? That's hot. Like, that's so weird. But, and we want people to talk about it, including our museums. So I don't think, all right, to museums, a museum is something that reflects the past, right? You hold artifacts and different things like that. Why wouldn't that be in the museum? That is just to talk about a portion of what it was. We can all see what the country is, and to be honest, it hasn't been that long ago. But it's just like I feel as though I feel like it's okay to reflect, because when you reflect, you know how to move forward. So I don't feel like if it was that bad, don't get mad at us. Get mad at your people.
Well, I think he said he was getting the legal team involved. I think that was his point, that he was mad at the people doing it. But so before Richard Roots chimes in, and he's probably gonna have pushback for what I said, for what I'm getting ready to say, but that's okay. I'm saying this out of love. Is that there's a difference between holding historical artifacts in remembrance of the past, and there's a difference between that and having historical artifacts to substantiate your retelling of the past. So one of those is telling you a story. One of those is allowing you to kind of piece that together. So I do think in scenarios like this, two things can be true. I have found it strange growing up that there's a weird kind of duality that exists, amongst our Black people, in the sense that we do happen to live in one of, if not arguably, the best country in the world, regardless of how our particular relationship with that is. But in the same way, we seek to almost reject what we've also been a part of building because of our part in this role. But we don't really have anything else to lay our head on, in most cases, just degeneracy anyway. So it becomes a problem where we can't discuss the past without tearing down the nation that we living in. To me, that's a problem. And so I could see that argument. And to quote someone that I know, that we all know, Cody says that one of the things about the Tulsa massacre is that of all its history, that was its worst time. But what gets lost in the shuffle of that is that it was rebuilt bigger than it was.
Yeah.
And so it gets remembered for the worst 16 hours of its time, but the rest of that gets overshadowed by that. And I think that as a culture, we have a habit of doing that.
Yeah.
We have a habit of bringing up so much of the pain, so much of the problems, that we don't see a lot of the good things, or we don't allow ourselves to be a part of that good because we're so busy trying to, fight demons of the past.
And I agree partly what you said, but at the same time, if we think about what has America been for the black person, it has been nothing but persecution, protests, and demands from us because of how we have been treated. So even after slavery, we have to go through the whole civil rights era, right? And then even after civil rights, we still did things. So they planted things in our community. They gave us welfare, WIC, and all these different things to try to destroy the black family systematically to remove us. Then you have the um
Now,
pipeline to prison.
I agree with
Go
you,
ahead.
but I will say, as nefarious as that plan was, it's not like they forced us. Those was all decisions that we made.
But at the same time, when your back is against the wall, what do you do?
Well, I mean, but that doesn't absolve you of the decision, though.
No, and
So
I agree, but I
so
feel
let me
like your
ask you
back is
this, because
against
I
the
think
wall.
it well, I'm gonna ask you this,
Mhm.
right? If I did a study on fleas, I put 10 fleas in a container, and I put a lid on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And every day for 6 months, the fleas try to get out.
Right.
The 7th month, I removed the lid.
Mm-hmm.
The fleas could no longer get out. Well, the fleas could now, at this time, they can get out.
Right.
But in their mind, they thought they couldn't get out
Mm-hmm.
because they've always had a lid.
Right.
So whose fault is it that the fleas never got out? Is it mine or the fleas?
This is probably not the answer you want to hear, but I'd say it's the fleas that's still alive's fault.
It's the fleas that are still alive fault?
Right. Because what other purpose is your life?
Okay, so
you either make peace where you are or you get out.
My studies were conducted because I knew the nature of a flea.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that if I had that lid on top for 3 months alone,
right,
the fleas would eventually give up.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't think that I have any blame in this at all?
Well, so this kind of goes into how we're looking at blame, because this goes into our perspective of what right and wrong is. So do you feel like you have a responsibility to the emotions or the quality of life of a flea? Like that's a real question. Like, do you feel like you, being a man, have a responsibility to the quality of life of a flea? You probably don't, because if you have full autonomy over what happens to that flea.
So if I'm the one conducting that study,
mm-hmm.
I do.
Right. But so what happens to that flea?
I'm creating an environment.
Because you can.
I created an environment that enforced the belief that you can't get out.
Oh, no, so it didn't enforce the belief.
I say enforce the belief that you can't get out.
Okay, fair enough.
So I do have, like, I can't say that I'm faultless. At the end of the day, I have blame.
How's that any different than God? Are you going to start blaming God for the bad things that happen in your life?
Well,
so I don't.
But if I could,
so we could. That's getting into a religious debate.
Well, I'm just saying the fleas in that jar, you God.
But let me.
So
Not necessarily.
manipulating those circumstances, is that not what happened in the story of Job, or did I misread that book?
So I would say this: is it the flea's responsibility? Yes and no, because they sometimes they have been conditioned. But that's why history is so important. Because if say, just hypothetically, say fleas can talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they was to pass down, remember when that man put the lid on?
Mm-hmm.
Remember when? If we keep passing the story down, we know that we can. We know that there's a lid. We know how the lid looks, and we know that, hey, wait, I think the lid is gone. Let's try again. So I think that's why history is important. So him going after the museums is extremely, if you wipe that out, generations now, they will have no idea. So if it was to happen again, they would have no idea that it happened before.
I don't disagree with you, and I don't know to the extent he's going after the museums. So I'd have to look into that to make a hard stance on this. But I would also argue that although history is important because we as humans work in patterns. So typically, if you can look through history and something's happened before, you create similar circumstances, you're going to have it happen again. That said, history has always been written by the victors. That does not mean that's what
Right.
happened.
Right.
Oftentimes that's what you are led to believe happened. So as if we can understand that there is always that period, that always that bit inside of the history that you learn. Like, I can't remember the lady's name, but she traveled the world basically saying that, the US, the Western societies basically lied about what the map looked like for centuries.
Yeah.
They was like they intentionally designed a map in a way to make you think that it was different than what it was, because from a psychological standpoint, it would reinforce the idea that the
Right.
black man or the Africans were a smaller or less important. Same concept. Like, at the end of the day, yes, that's history. It's also a lie.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just say, before we get too held up in lobbying for history, we also have to make sure that we're being good stewards of that too.
I agree.
Right.
I agree. Definitely agree. Go ahead, Richard. Introduce us to the topic.
I didn't want to end this war between me and Prime, but
Hey, go ahead, bring on your fleas, man.
thank you for tuning in to KBOB 89.9. This is the Black Love Club, and today is National Radio. I keep wanting to say show day, but radio day. So with that being said, we want to give
Like the
honor
football player.
when honor.
No,
not
oh my gosh.
We want to give honor for when honor is due. So shout out to Uncle Bobby Eden. And we want to thank you for your vision with KBOB, giving us a voice for blacks, giving us an opportunity to have a voice in the black community on KBOB. So shout out to Uncle Bobby. And today's topic is working together, not against each other, because marriages was not designed to be a battlefield. It was not designed to be a battlefield. So y'all, we got to stop fighting. Y'all, we got to get past this. But I got a question. I got a question to everybody who's listening on the radio. I have a question to everybody who's in the studio with us. And I have a question to everybody who's in the chat. What do you believe people could work on personally before bringing someone into their long-term life?
That's good.
What?
That's good.
Their life long-term. That's better.
Wait a minute. Whoa. So say it again slowly.
What do you think? Oh, because Prime don't like this question.
I didn't say that. Hold on.
No, you don't, because
Hold
you
on.
already argued it
I'm
on
just
the
trying
show
to make
many
sure
times.
I understand it. I'm
So
just trying to
what do
understand
you
it.
think that people could do in their lives personally before they get into a long-term relationship?
Okay, so are you saying, like, what kind of work can we do as individuals before we get into relationships, or are you saying what kind of work can we do before we bring somebody else into our relationship? Because the first time you asked, it sounded like, before I bring in like a marriage counselor, what do I need to do?
Oh,
or
okay.
are you saying as a single person?
Gotcha.
Okay, yeah.
I'm trying to understand your
enough.
question.
That's fair enough. I'm not going to tell you what question I thought you was asking, but as an individual, that's a good question.
All right.
So
And remember, you guys can call in Join the conversation at 918-856-3873. Nah, that was a sound effect.
Okay, all right.
Oh,
You could have gave us a cue or something. We
yeah,
always something like, man, that was fast.
I was like, damn, they calling in right now.
Okay, so things you can work on for yourself. I think when it comes to men, I think it's important that um, you understand yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what your duress response looks like. You understand, like, what are you like under pressure? What are you like when things are difficult? What does your rock bottom look like?
Mm-hmm.
How well are you at identifying the good or bad qualities in people? Look at your relationship, see how good you are at vetting people. I think is a good thing. Obviously, getting your finances together, taking care of your body, um, and then I would also say that we talked about the three things men, I think, in general need. You need a way to fund your life, you need a purpose, and then you need a hobby. And so, void of those things, I think you become either too codependent or too lack based in thinking. So if you have those things and you invest your time in those things, you prioritize those things, then you'll tend to be a better partner because you're used to dealing with more people. You're used to it not being just about you. So you have some servitude in you, you have some creativity in you. Those will all be things I would say you could do before you get into a long-term relationship.
And you think these things that help us prevent ourselves, well, prevent a lot of fights and arguments in a relationship?
I think so. I think in some ways it will, because as a man, if you have reached this level, you're going to be more confident in yourself. So you're not going to have this lag based thinking. You're just not going to accept a lot of this going on. Because I made the argument to you on many occasions. Arguments are always a choice. That is a person's way of coping with a situation, or that's their way of handling the situation. And so you can find out within, the first 15 minutes if that's how they handle situations. You can give them a chance to be like, hey, that's a little bit much, could you calm down a little bit? That's not how we do things. But hey, if they're not up for it or you don't feel like it, hey, don't wish nothing negatively on them. Just send them on their way. Look for somebody else. You don't have to tolerate that.
Right. Right. I think as an individual, I think one thing that people could work on as an individual to prepare themselves for a long term relationship is listening, working on your listening and communication skills.
Listening for what?
No, I mean just like listening to other individuals. So like,
Yeah, but people lie all the time.
no, not necessarily like, so
We got
if
people out here talking about, hey, it's not tricking if you got it. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So I'm saying, what is we supposed to be listening to? We got women in here listening to their single friends ruining their relationships.
so in our everyday life we have conflict. Sometimes it's never really even meant to be conflict. It's just another person expressing like how they feel or how they feel like you made them feel. And I think a lot of times we're really not prepared. We're not taught how to handle those situations. That's why a lot of us don't like to. That's why a lot of us are non-confrontational, because we know that a lot of people don't know how to handle um, us expressing our feelings. For instance, he's looking at me like expressing our feelings.
No, I was just gonna say, I was like, I know most of the non-confrontational people I know have similar things in common.
Let me express my point first.
Please.
So if I'm at work and I don't know, let's just say I work at McDonald's.
Fair
right?
enough.
Why is that fair enough?
This is your world, man. I can't. Nikki, will you have this exchange with him?
Fair enough. All right. Let's go back. All right. Let's say I work at McDonald's, right? And I don't know, maybe people fight about grills. Let's just say I get there. I get there on time. But the
Okay.
guy who works the shift before me, he's working on my grill. I don't necessarily like people working on my grill.
Fair enough.
You know what I'm saying? So when I go to him and I tell him, hey, you working at my grill.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? He gets upset because he's like, man, this ain't nobody's grill.
Fair enough.
You know what I'm saying? So he's like going off on me.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. That is fair enough. So he's like going off on me before I can express the fact that the cleaning process, like you started on this grill already. So when it's my turn to get on the grill, I have to wait for you to clean it. Let's just say that was a thing. You know, I have to wait for you to clean it before I can start my shift. So now that puts me behind time. But he's just upset and he just get like belligerent
Mm-hmm.
before he even listened to me. You know, I'm thinking, you know, those are I think that's probably like a bad example.
Terrible
That's probably
example.
like the worst
It's
case scenario.
horrible. and you
It's
know
like-
you know why it was so hard? You know why it's so hard?
Why so?
Because you know good and well that no two men are gonna have that problem. Because you're
Well-
right. We both know that ain't my grill. And I'm not gonna walk up to you showing up to the shift while you working
That's true.
and then create a problem that I'm not prepared to put my hands on you over.
That is true in most cases.
But I do know a particular kind of person, not saying they're good or bad, that will at that same McDonald's feel bullied, disrespected, and go commit McMurder.
bruh. Come on, Kyle say she see where I'm coming from. I
That was a long time
That's
ago.
old. That's
She ain't in your corner.
Nah,
She
nah,
ain't in
nah.
your corner. She is not in your corner.
Hey, Nikki, you ain't had to bring that up. She like, yeah, they ain't what you talking about.
I'm not gonna lie. I
But
did
look.
get kind of lost, but
That story was wild. Wasn't it?
What part about it you got lost there?
I've been lost. So let's continue. Let's get to more of the what people bring to the table. when
Translation: Put down the
married.
shovel. Put down the shovel.
No, because I did. I guess it was the questions or whatever it was, but I did get lost because I guess we'll restate the question again.
Oh, I'm done. I don't even remember the
But go to
question.
the next question.
I don't have a next question.
Oh, dang.
Just like we build questions off of the conversation.
That is true. That is very much true. But so the topic for today is, sorry, I'm about to put it back up here, so that everybody can know what the topic for today is: working together in a marriage. So what are ways that people can work together? It seemed like it got blurry. Work together in a marriage so that your marriage can work.
So I got a question for Nikki.
Go ahead.
So as a woman, and I'm gonna let you get your whole part out. I'm not going to interrupt or anything, but what are some things you think that a woman can work on before they get into a long-term relationship with the idea in mind to get actually in a long-term relationship?
That was my question.
Okay, so with the idea in mind, it got blurry on me. I don't know why, but so I think one thing, and I think I said this in the other show, I don't think women we really realize how important community is, and especially for women. I think making sure you have the right community, and different things like that. Making sure you have the right community, making sure that you are, as a woman, you have good friends, right? Good friends in your circle, friends that will encourage a good relationship, right? Friends that wouldn't encourage you to give up. Because I think a lot of times we don't pay attention to that, because if you have problems at home, you want to have wise counsel that you can go to, right? So I think community definitely is one. Another thing is to make sure that we are open to working on traumas that we've been dealing with, right? Or things that we didn't even know was traumas, right? Working on that so that when we get in our marriage, when triggers show up, we know how to handle it. We know how to deal with it. Because I think a lot of times we don't know ourselves enough So we end up basically getting in a marriage, and all of it comes out then, and then it causes friction and different things like that. But I do believe if you work on those things before marriage, then you would know. But honestly, it takes conversations from married people to tell single women that that's some things you might want to know how to work through it, right? When those triggers, how do you work through it and stuff like that. And another thing is understanding postpartum. And I think that on a man and a woman, they both should understand postpartum because it is very different mentally, physically. So if both man and woman know how to operate through it, then it will continue to make marriages stronger because a lot of marriages start falling apart around that postpartum time. So I think if we both know how to work through it, and that's like with education,
Mm-hmm.
with conversations way before, like we need to start having these conversations with young women before so that they can know what to expect. Because you get in a marriage and then it comes out of nowhere, you think that your marriage is just trash, but meanwhile, every other woman and every other man in a marriage is dealing with the same thing, but no one's talking about it. So I don't know. That's my.
Okay. So I got a question for you. So you mentioned postpartum, and then you mentioned that both sides should be understanding of this. So is there like, do men like get a postpartum like allowance, or like is there like a equivalent that men get in terms of like postpartum?
So you meaning like?
And so men get postpartum too.
Right, right.
And
But she said,
that's
but
what
Well,
it's
but
called,
that's what
I'm
I'm
talking.
postpartum.
asking.
So I hate the men get postpartum thing because physically, what's went through the woman body is calling a hormonal imbalance. You may be dealing with issues of the woman not being as attentive to you or whatever, or mentally those things. But
So you don't think that's a real thing?
no, I believe that this is postpartum, especially postpartum depression. It
Hmm.
comes from a hormonal imbalance. There's
Mm-hmm.
also postpartum rage that women deal with from a hormonal imbalance that their body has just burnt out so much of their nutrients and hormones through that placenta
Mm-hmm.
that it causes that. So this is one. This helps when you have community that can understand that you're going through that they can help you get through it, right? So that's why community is important too. Also, if that both the husband and wife understand that they're going to go through it, the woman won't feel as though she's a bad wife or her marriage is just not working. Also, the man will understand that she's not a bad wife and their marriage is going to be okay because they're going to work through it. So that's what I'm saying. Both parties understand that
It
because I
sounds
don't
like you're
see
taking
that
accountability away from one party.
from that. This it's not an accountability thing.
It
Postpartum
sounds
is
like it though.
no.
You
It's
basically
it's
taking
like
away
saying
her chance to
if
be a bad
somebody
wife
no, it's no.
and
That's
saying
not.
he's just got to be okay with her and know that things will get better eventually.
That's not what I'm
No,
saying.
so it's not about him being okay with it. It's about him being knowledgeable about it so they can work through it. Uh,
Okay, how's that different?
No, it's if you
so
both okay. So it's like a person. You're making it seem like if a person had cancer or something like that, they have no control over those things. So it's a sickness just as the same. So she has no control over those things. Now, what if we both understand how to work through it? Just like if you had cancer, you know how to work through it. You can work through the treatments and the process, and you understand that this doesn't make your marriage bad. We know how to work through this. We're working together. We both know what to expect, right? So that's what I'm saying. Then a lot of marriages will survive past that because they both know what to expect.
Fair enough. I want to see where we both see this on, and Richard, feel free to chime in as well. So let's say that your partner was diagnosed with cancer. Very rough. He's going through the chemo, struggling. Emotions are all over the place. Death is right around the corner. He's lost his hair, most of his body mass, looks like a different person. Okay. Um, so you know the drugs, all of that stuff going on. Would you say you would be understanding and willing to stick by him if occasionally he'd rage out and just yell and scream at you?
Yes. And I'm
Um,
going to tell you
if
why.
occasionally, you know, he got physical with you,
He
if
would be too weak to get
occasional
physical,
he
but keep
got
going.
quiet with you or like completely distant, like you weren't in the room or you weren't like a person, would you be okay with understanding that this is what he's going through, him treating you that way?
Yes, I would be, because guess what? Who would explain it? The doctor would explain that this medication has side effects. Sometimes this is how the person, they may lash out. This is what you should do when they do that. They will walk you through the process. So you would not go in blindly, which is
Mhm.
why I'm saying in marriage, if in the beginning, before marriage, if we are having more conversations about, hey, this is what you may go through in postpartum, and this how it may affect your marriage and stuff like that. If the men also know this stuff and the women know this stuff, then they know when, oh, you know what, I remember when my aunt said that, I remember when my mother said that, I remember when my mom went through that with, and vice, just so on. It's like then they know how to work through it. That was a hard patch for my parents. They talked to me about that, but guess what, they made it through. So that's what it's education. That's all I'm saying. The same thing with the cancer patient.
You sound like you wanted to say something.
No, I'm gonna let you go, and then
You
I
sound
want to
like,
switch gears a little bit after.
Okay, all right.
go ahead.
After.
So, what I would say this, and this is the thing I want us to all consider in this regard, is that I think this is a situation of women giving themselves too much credit. Like, I get it. You're the natural nurturers. You're typically more emotional. You typically tend to deal and care more about people. But if we're being the one talking about who's the most loyal, who's willing to stick through the rough stuff, it's definitely not y'all. Like, y'all leaving men, good men, for less
Okay.
than what I just described to you. Which and that is a situation that only happens some of the time. But almost any woman you get pregnant can have postpartum.
Yeah. So
So like just think about that. Like like, y'all chatted me talking about irreconcilable differences because I wouldn't pick up my clothes and put them in the basket. And you mean you trying to convince me that if I had cancer and I just randomly wig out on you, you gonna stick by me?
yeah, a woman would stick by. Actually, it's more known that men will leave a woman through sickness than a woman leaving a man through sickness.
Okay, this
No,
is
no, there's studies on that. Hey, there's
no,
studies
no,
on
no,
that.
no, no,
Okay.
no. I'm not saying I'm not disagreeing with you.
But I do want to say this in regards to what you were saying. It's you making it seem as if this woman has like these excuses, and it's not. I'm saying if education is brought, we have to bring education, and that's the
No,
whole
no,
thing,
I agree with you.
that we both can work through it.
I'm not disagreeing about the education. My concern is that it seems like she gets a blank check to respond however it is that she can or she's able to. Whereas I think even that cancer
No,
patient
yo,
man.
yo, I have
yes,
to cut it before we start
okay,
getting these prime
Okay.
time
okay,
messages, y'all.
okay, but
But
I cannot just say this one thing, but if you are educated, then when those feelings flare up, you can say, "Oh, you know what? That's not because I dislike my husband. It's not because he's aggravating me. It's my hormones, and I need to get myself in check." So it's education. That's all I'm saying.
But did you catch it before or after you hit him? Is my question.
Ain't no woman hitting a man. Go ahead, Richard.
Okay, now we talking fantasies. All right, Richard Roots.
all right, nearly 40 to 50% of marriages in the U.S. end in divorce. But couples who practice teamwork and intentional communication are up 35% more likely to receive satisfaction in their marriage,
Okay.
right? Money issues. This was another thing. So, what couples could work on before, I mean, individuals could work on before they get into a relationship? I believe it's money,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that you are financial, not just literate,
Mm-hmm.
but disciplined.
Okay.
Because a lot of the marriages that end in divorce are
Mm-hmm.
due to money problems.
All right.
So that's another thing that I would encourage people before we go into prime time, because I know we're about to switch gears with prime time. I just wanted to end this segment with some good information.
So when you talk about, like, for instance, financial issues, so is this more of people shouldn't get together until they're financially stable,
No,
or is it Is it more of somebody in the relationship has to be financially stable and be able to, the least other party needs to at least be able to defer until they know better? Like, so like on one side, I just hear this conversation. It's like, broke men don't procreate. Fair enough. But so if that's the case, that still leaves less men for the women to be with. So if we're not going to go to that extreme, well, so how does that jockeying for position works? Because especially if these women are trying to get with men around their age and they're in their 20s, most of these men are not going to be at their prime, income ability.
Mm-hmm.
So they won't have their money set up or where they need it to be. So are you encouraging them to not be involved at all? And the women just to kind of date up, or like what's going on?
No, so it depends on what you consider to be financially stable. What I said was financially literate
Mm-hmm.
and have financial discipline, money discipline.
Right.
What that looks like to me is not saying you should make X amount of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
It just means that you know how to make the most of what you have.
Right.
And you're not just spending it. Like if you're working in a warehouse and you're making $15 an hour,
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't be wearing Jordans. I'm buying every pair of Jordans as soon as they come out.
I agree with you.
If that's the situation you are in, then
Mm-hmm.
you're really not ready to bring another person, into your family structure, let alone kids.
And so to play devil's advocate with this, what if you end up finding a woman, a very smart, intelligent woman who, who's interested in you, and she may just so happen to be financially literate
Mm-hmm.
and, knows how to kind of talk to you in a way that gets you to actually consider for the first time in, your short life of being an adult that, maybe you're not spending money correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that be an argument for why that person should still seek a
No, so
partner?
I wouldn't bank on that. Like, so you don't go into a relationship hoping that the right person comes to make you financially disciplined.
No, I agree.
Yeah, so you should be financially disciplined before the person comes.
But you had to learn that. So you either learn it through pain or you learn from somebody teaching you.
Do you learn it or do you just do it?
Well, you got to learn it because the other side of discipline is lack of discipline. So that means you had to start doing it this way specifically to get results. You had to learn that there was a problem first. Or somebody had to teach you.
That's learning that there's a problem. That's not learning financial discipline. Because
but you can survive without being financially disciplined.
Can you?
Yeah, you can definitely survive that way. You just talked about the guy who's buying Jordans every paycheck and don't need to. Those guys exist.
That is surviving.
And so, like, at some point, are we going to just say, "Hey, because he didn't know it growing up, he ain't worth nothing"?
No. So that's not what I said. I gave advice on what you could work on to help as an individual. So what you could work on to help as an individual. So if a lot of our marriages are ending in divorce because of financial problems, financial arguments,
right?
What could help is if that individual, while he or she is an individual, they work on financial discipline,
right?
If you work on that, when you get into a relationship, it can be a whole lot easier because your spouse isn't worrying about you having you spending all of your money, or if y'all have a shared account, you're not spending all of their money. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I'm just saying I think it'll help. The same for communication. If you're learning how to listen, communicate, then it'll be less of an argument, but it'll be more of a discussion. Well, I guess it could be an argument. Nothing's wrong with arguments as long as it's cordial.
Right. And so I guess, I like the way you kind of expanded upon that, and that's what I really wanted. I guess the point that I was trying to make, and I typically am not the best person at doing this, but I think in this day and age, we're all broken in different ways. A lot of us growing up, due to different circumstances, and so we may, if we're searching for ideal situations, we may struggle with that. that might be that might be part of the issue with how we're going about it. Is we got our expectations too high. We're trying to find a person that don't exist now. This person existed, 20, 30, 40 years ago. So maybe what we need to instead do is to be able to put that mirror towards ourselves and understand what our strengths and weaknesses are. And so it's not so much to reject a person who's different than us or not where we want them to be, but ask ourselves, if we got rid of this situation, what is the other qualities of this person? Because it's for richer or for poorer. It's almost going to be better to get with somebody who don't have it right now, because then y'all get to grow it together.
Right.
You haven't had a chance to lose it all that, or you put value into what is lost. But in the same point, if you don't think that you can learn anything from anyone else, then you wouldn't be willing to take that help anyway.
Hmm.
And so I just think that a lot of men and women distancing themselves, I hear the music, but men and women distancing themselves more and more, I don't think is the answer. I think a lot of our issues are because we have distanced ourselves from each other so much.
Oh, that's facts, bro. That's facts. Now I'm happy you said that, because I don't want it to look like I'm encouraging people to take more time apart. But
Mm-hmm.
what I want to encourage people, if you're listening, consider financial discipline, because it's gonna help you in the long run.
100%. All right, y'all hear the music. Y'all know what time it is. It is time for prime time. So the post today is. Can you see the post on your screen?
Yeah.
Can you read it?
Almost lost my mind trying to get someone to understand how I feel. Now I am quiet.
Mm.
Mm.
Now this is when I saw this post, it stood out to me because it reminded me of the time period when I was married. And so I would always hear people ask, they're like, why is it men don't communicate? Why is it men don't express themselves? And what I would find is that a lot of times when I would be in a position to express myself, one, a lot of things just don't matter as much to men as they do women. And that's not to say nothing matters, but I think I would say a lot of the stuff that you really, really care about, I really, really don't. And so most of the issues I tend to just expect as a problem amongst people. We are just different. You handle things differently than I do. You talk a little bit differently than I do. So at the end of the day, I don't necessarily got like all of you. I just like the sum of you. And so there's going to be things I dislike, things I like. It's cool. It's whatever. I move on. But my woman, on the other hand, is typically more vocal, more expressive about her issues, about what she's feeling, what she's bothered by. And so it becomes a point where there's now this, well, you need to express yourself. I need you to tell me what it is you're feeling.
Mhm.
Well, whenever I present to you what I'm feeling and it's taken as a attack, that discourages me from wanting to express that to you. If when I bring up something, it's met with a list of excuses, or not necessarily excuses, but I call them like reasons that we can't do nothing with, like stuff that we both understand is going to be here. I'm tired. I ain't feeling well. Work, this, that, whatever your excuse is, I can't take those away from you. You know what I mean? Like you guys are following what I'm saying. So it's met with those kind of demands. And so it makes me less likely to talk about it. Because what's the point of me opening myself up to that pain of being rejected, of being neglected? Because to me, as a man, there's nothing worse than somebody treating me like a chore. Because I've always had to look after myself and to do for myself. And I don't frankly let a lot of people do anything for me. So the fact that I would allow someone to do something in general is because of how I think of that person. Because in most cases, I feel like I'd be better off doing it myself. Like, even if it's putting my own clothes in the laundry, I feel like I'm better at putting my clothes in the laundry than anybody else is. But if I think highly of you and you have a willingness to do that and you decide you want to do it, I may allow it. But you make me feel like a chore. Oh no, you got to go. And so I bring all of that back around to say is that if you are with a man and he's gone quiet and you're not hearing how he feels, this is the calm before the storm. Because as men, we tend to shut down in stages. It's not going to be you did one thing, or at least in most cases, it's not going to be you did one thing and then we're shutting down the door and we're leaving. No, it's going to be a series of progressive little things, little parts of me that you've made me hold, take away from you over the course of the relationship. Whether it was, I was just trying to joke and have a good time with you. You weren't feeling it and you snapped at me and made me feel stupid about it. I'm not going to give that part to you no more. I come to tell you something important, something deep that was bothering me, and you throw it back in my face. I'm not going to give you that vulnerability anymore. And so I think that serves a lot to that coldness that we have. And to Richard Roots' point earlier, I think this is why we need to be better at listening to each other. And I think, as partners, we have to listen for our partners, not for ourselves, because our goal cannot be to respond.
That was a fair conclusion, but I am going to say you gave me a hard time earlier when I said that. And you wrong for that. When I saw this, when I saw that post go on the screen, I said, this dude here.
I just want you to expand on it. And then you're going to start talking about the fleas. Like, man, he was coming in with some other stuff.
Fleas was a good point. That was actually on the news portion, actually. That was for something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you did a fair conclusion, man, because I was gonna conclude with the same thing you just said, man. That was awesome. You got anything to say, Nikki?
I have nothing to say.
Well, y'all, we got an exciting show for you guys tomorrow. So we want to thank you guys for tuning in. Tomorrow's show, we're gonna be talking about putting that woman first.
This is gonna be a hard topic.
Is Jaheim still around?
Yeah, y'all. We gotta learn to put these women first. And women, you have to learn how to allow these men to put you first.
Fellas, don't listen to the nonsense.
Right.
I got y'all back. Don't do it.
And
I see y'all
next
Thursday.
time, y'all know, black women,
we love you.
And black men, we love you. And black child, you're golden. So until next time, peace.